Hi there, hope you are doing great and welcome to this video. This video is created for education purpose. In the next 10 to 15 minutes of this video, you will learn about one of the curriculum theory that sets the foundation of standard-based curriculum here in Papua New Guinea. Traditional school says knowledge is something we absorb. However, in this video, you will learn about a theory that says knowledge is something we build together. We are final year students here at the University of Goroka taking curriculum theory and practices. And in this video, we would like to discuss with you about social constructivism theory. By the end of this video, you will you will understand why PNG curriculum shifted from OBE to SBE. We'll also cover the zone of proximal development, the power of scaffolding, and how you can transform your classroom into a community of learners. So now, what is social constructivism theory? Social constructivism theory is a theory that emphasizes that learners gain deep understanding through discussion with peers, let alone from passive listening to a teacher. Social constructivism theory was first developed by Lev Vygotsky, a Russian psychologist who believed that social interaction is the foundation of cognitive development. According to Vygotsky, learning occurs when students engage in meaningful dialogue, collaboration, and problem solving activities. So basically, teachers act as facilitators, guiding students towards what they can achieve within their zone of proximal development. Zone of proximal development is the gap between what students can do independently and what they can achieve with support from more knowledgeable persons like teachers and their peers. With that, now let's hear from the next speaker who will analyze the topic social constructivism theory.
Hello everyone, it's me, Joseph Menru. I would like to elaborate on the first point of the social constructionism theory. And so the first point is the core principle of the social constructionism theory. Now, social constructionism theory posits or explains that learning is not an internal passive process, but actually it's a dynamic one. According to Vygotsky, 1978, states that the most effective learning occurs within the zone of proximal development. That is where a student's transition from what they can do independently to what they can achieve with social support. Okay, now something to think of. Social actually means something to do with the help of each other. Let me say something to do with more than one person. Specifically to achieve a specific goal in any aspect of life. Okay, now, according to social constructionism theory, let's consider this one as an example. Okay, now, at initially, a child or a learner cannot ride a bicycle by his or her own, right? However, there must be a parental or guidance support in order for that child to master a balance in pedaling. Of course, ride a bicycle independently. Same thing happens to a rugby player. A rugby player cannot master every necessary skills that is needed to play the rugby ball unless the coach must be there to help the player play the game or equip with the necessary skills. Okay, now this specifically related to a idea suggesting that in PNG schools or academy, it actually requires a well-developed person or a teacher. Okay, now when I'm saying teacher, I'm referring to both village and a professional teacher. They are essential for bridging the gap between traditional knowledge and, of course, the modern standard of society. So commonly in any academic classrooms, students can be able to learn well only when a teacher or guidance are socially helpful. Okay, now let me provide an example for this. Thus, there is always a certain students with low comprehension. In order for that particular child to learn socially, there must be a social interaction between the teacher and that particular student. So, how social interaction happens? Well, a teacher can come down to that particular student's level and openly talk to him or her, as well as paying assistance if needed. So, in that manner, students can share the reality and he or she can improve in academic to come up to that level where all of the students are. Okay, so you see, this is directly talking about improving cognitive strength. And yes, we came from a country, the Papua New Guinea, where we socially learn from each other. So every clan, community, tribes, a district, province, and a nation as a whole believe that working socially and collaboratively improves the education level uh, as a result of the development of human cognitive integral development. Therefore, social constructionism is very important for learning and improvement and the betterment of the human mindset and development. Okay, thank you. My friend will elaborate on the second point.
I will explain how social constructionism theory influences standard-based education or SBE in Papua New Guinea. Social constructionism explains that knowledge is not simply given by teachers. Instead, it is constructed through social interactions, language, and shared experiences. Learning actively builds understanding through engagement with others and their environment, as stated by Vygotsky in 1978. The philosophy of SBE in Papua New Guinea standard-based education is strongly influenced by the idea PNG is currently diverse country with over 800 and plus languages. So learning must be meaningful and connected to student real lives. SBC focuses on development and competences, not just memorizing facts. But the Department of Education highlights that education should prepare learners not only for employment but also for meaningful participation in society. Social constructionism supports this by encouraging students to actively participate in learning rather than passively receive information, as stated by Vygotsky in 1978. So teaching and learning in the classroom, these three changes the role of a teacher. Teachers are no longer just information providers, but instead they act as facilitators of the learning. Students learn best through like group discussions, problem solving activities, storytelling and sharing cultural knowledge and peers learning. This connects Vygotsky's idea of the zone of pronomial development, where learners develop understanding with support from the teachers and classmates. So the curriculum structure, social constructionism also influences the curriculum structure in SBE. Teachers encouraged to include local culture, community knowledge in lessons. This aligns with the ideas of John Dewey in 1938, who argued that education must be grounded in social experiences. For instance, science lessons may use local farming, fishing, or environment practices. This may learning more understandable and relevant for students in their own context. So the relevance and challenges. This theory is very relevant in Papua New Guinea because it values cultural diversity, context learning to community life, promotes inclusive educations. However, there are challenges in many schools face large class size, limited teaching resources, language barriers. Teachers will use traditional lecture method. These issues makes it difficult to fully apply learner-centered teaching. The strengths and limitations. The strength of social constructionism in SBE, it encourages active and meaningful learning. Number two could be promoting collaboration and communication. Number three is integrating indigenous knowledge into education. However, limitations include difficulty in under-resourced schools, need for strong teacher training. Another one would be challenge in accessing students' constructed knowledge. Social constructionism plays a key role in shaping standard-based education in Papua New Guinea. It promotes interactive learning and centered and culturally relevant education. However, its access depends on proper teaching training, adequate resources, and strong policy support.
To conclude, social constructionism theory fundamentally reframes teaching and learning as a shared social process rather than a one-way transfer of knowledge. It holds that understanding is not simply discovered or memorized, but actively built through language, dialogue, and collaboration with a cultural context. For the classroom, this means the teacher moves from being the sole expert to a facilitator who guides discussions and design authentic group tasks. Students learn by explaining ideas to peers, negotiating meaning, and solving real-world problems together. Key practices include scaffolded instruction, collaborative projects, and culturally responsive teaching, all rooted in the belief that learning happens first between people then inside the individuals. Assessment shifts from single correct answers to evaluating reasoning, collaboration, and the ability to integrate multiple perspectives. While this approach requires skilled facilitation and can challenge standardized curricula, it prepares students for life beyond school where knowledge is constantly negotiated in terms and diverse social settings. Ultimately, social constructionism theory reminds us all that learning deeply is learning together. Thank you, and that's the end of our presentation.